Hi everyone, I'm Carol Carnes, and this is Living Consciously. Today I'm going to talk about something that every human being is involved in, whether they think they are or not, and that's relationships. That's all life is about, is relationships. So I want to look at the different levels of them, the levels of interest, the level of involvement and commitment, but we begin with inanimate objects. I know you have a relationship with your computer, with your phone, and with your car, and any other machine in your house or electronic device. And I know you talk to them, don't you? Sometimes you yell at them, and sometimes you say, "Oh, thank you, I love you so much." Sometimes you throw them across the room. Well, maybe not that, but you want to. The point is, there is a relationship with inanimate objects, but your relationship to your car isn't the same as your mechanic's relationship to your car. He's very involved with it. He's interested in it, and he knows how to interact with it to facilitate its optimal performance. And the same thing with any person who's a techie. There is, on some phones, there's something called Siri, and that's, of course, artificial intelligence, and I have a relationship with Siri. When I first got my iPhone and was talking to Siri, I think I developed a little crush on him because he calls me brilliant lady. So the next level, as we move away from inanimate objects, the next level are living things. Now I'm thinking about plants. Do you have a relationship with your house plants? Mine is fairly minimal. I water them. My mother was a terrific gardener. She had a beautiful garden year-round, and she would get down on her knees and talk to her plants. And she would collect hair and coffee grounds or anything that the latest, you should use this to grow plants thing, whatever it was. But it really worked. She was very involved and very committed to it and very interested. She had gardening books. Different level of relationship than I have with plants. Now, we have a relationship with people, and that, of course, is part of what we want to talk about today. Let's talk about neighbors. I love my neighbors. I don't see them all that much. Occasionally we get together. My level of involvement with them is fairly minimal, and theirs with me, but it's a good relationship. Now, other relationships, we become more intimately involved with people, and that has to do with our level of commitment, and our commitment is to the relationship. Our commitment is to helping to facilitate well-being and to our shared happiness, if you will. That relationship requires much more involvement and much more interest, and if we lose interest, it tends to dissolve. In California, they call divorce the dissolution of the marriage. I think that makes terrific sense. The dissolution of the marriage. Things dissolve that we don't if we're not interested in them and we're not involved and we don't pour ourselves into them with a commitment, they tend to just go away after a while. All right, so we have all kinds of relationships with people, our children, our parents, our friends, our loved ones, our significant others. They're all relationships, and they all demand different things of us, and they all require different levels of interest and involvement and commitment. All right, so now I want to talk about the really important one. And that's your relationship to yourself. Let's start with the body. Some people treat their body like it doesn't actually exist. They're kind of indifferent to what's going on with it. Or they just feed it any old thing or let it gain weight, or they don't exercise it. I've been guilty of some of that. But that's because of my relationship with it. And at different times in our life, we have a different relationship with our physical self. But it's very important that we stay current with it and see what it needs now. Get involved with what it needs at any age and give it what it needs to promote, as like a mechanic with your car, its optimal functioning. Okay, that's one relationship we have with ourselves, is the physical one. What I advise people to do when they're trying to lose a great amount of weight, I used to do a workshop called Love Yourself Slim, I'm thinking about bringing it into Las Cruces in the fall, so keep your ears open. I'll let you know. But I have people go into the bathroom naked, shut the door, and look at their body. Sometimes people haven't seen their whole body for years and years and years. And look at it and say, wow, look what I created. Look at that beautiful image that I created. Isn't that wonderful? I'm so powerful. And then you love it and acknowledge it and thank your body for giving you the experience you unconsciously wanted by allowing yourself to gain that much weight. It's very powerful. It really works. You start appreciating your body, you begin to have a different relationship with it. Okay, let's go back to your relationship with you on another level. And that's your relationship with your inner self. And you know, we have two aspects to our inner life. We have our ego, which is our local perception of things, and we have our spirit, which is a non-local perception of things. Mostly, we're involved with the ego, and it's the want, need, gotta have aspect of our personality. And it doesn't have to be negative, it's just insistent, and it's just present. It's to serve us in the local world. It has a function to provide continuity in our experience so that we can identify where we are and who we're with and all that sort of thing. But the more we're involved with the ego to the exclusion of the higher self or the non-local self, the more troublesome our other relationships become. You may have noticed that. Maybe you've noticed it in other people. You know, it's hard to have an intimate relationship with someone who's completely ego-bound, egotistical. Me, always right. Can't see your point of view, don't want to hear it. And that's, you know, they're not available for real intimacy. That's a little bit pathological, but most of us aren't like that. But we can get a little off track. We can get a little centered, especially through worry and fear, you know, and the what ifs. And that's the local mind projecting some sort of doomsday scenario onto the local scene or into the moment, where we just let our mind run away with it. However, if we develop a more involved, interested relationship with our non-local self, life gets a whole lot better. Now, let's talk about that a little bit. The non-local self, it's the rest of us. I call it the rest of us, the best of us, the not yet expressed of us. It's our wonderful potential. It is our spiritual nature. It is that untapped region of infinite possibility. It sees through things. You know, when we were taught in Sunday school, if you were in a Christian Sunday school, you were taught to judge not by appearances, but see through them. And that's what you can do when your local mind is developed. You can see through the antics of ego, your own and other people's, back to the self behind it. That's called compassion. And that's about the only way you can have compassion, is to see through the behavior, see through the appearance, back to the soul that is standing before you. And know that that soul is infinitely greater than anything it's doing in the moment. And that includes us. You know, that's one way to forgive yourself for behaviors you wish you hadn't done, is to know that you are infinitely greater than your behavior and that you can always do better. Okay? So we don't abdicate our role in the care and feeding of the mind at any stage in our life if we want our life to unfold from that center of infinite possibility. We have to be involved with it. Now, how do you take care of this mind? How do you feed it? You know the old saying, food for thought, or thought for food? I like thought for food. We give our mind nutritious ideas, if you will. Ideas that are, you know, Paul said this, think on these things, the good, the true, and the beautiful. That's wonderful advice. We feed the mind affirmatively. We give it affirmations to think about, such as, I love my life, I love being me. That's a very affirmative. And the Local self strictly would say, well, I'd love it better if I had more money, or if this person didn't act that way, or if I lived somewhere else, or whatever. But when you say, I love my life, I love being me, the soul kind of perks up. And that's the non-local self that can interact with us. And this is where we get inspiration. Get inspiration from the non-local mind. The care and feeding of it includes meditation. You know, I always go there, right? It's the best kept secret on the planet. The care and feeding of the soul, the care and feeding of the mind, the interaction of ourself to this non-local self is through silence and deep contemplation. You know, you enter into silence first, and you just stay there for a while and watch your thoughts come and go. But if you become somewhat adept at it and you do it every day, pretty soon you're not going to have so many thoughts, and you're going to feel something. You're going to feel the presence of yourself. You know, most people have never felt the presence of themselves. All they do is hear what their ego's thinking and what they need and who's got to do what first and what if that happens, and all those memories and projection into the future, but they've never experienced themselves. You can only do that if you're still and if you sit in some silence. So this is a very important part of relationship, is our relationship with our better nature. And you find it within. That's the secret to everything, isn't it? You know, you probably get tired of hearing me say it, but learn to meditate. I always say, for heaven's sake. For the sake of the field of heaven that you can contact, learn to meditate. But also, learn to think affirmatively when you're not meditating. This is one of the great things about modern New Thought spirituality, is it teaches us to think, and it's more than positive thinking. It's kind of beyond positive thinking. It's a perception of life that is decidedly optimistic, but discerning. It's not foolish. It's not happy Pollyanna-ish stuff. It's a perception that there is a greater power at work all the time. We're in relationship with it, and it functions by means of us, by working through us. And that is the next part of our relationships that I want to talk about, and that's our relationship to Source, or Spirit, or God, if you want to call it that. I think the word God is a little bit limiting, because it's much greater than the God we conjured up centuries ago. You know, we understand more that it's far bigger than we thought, far more intimately connected to us than we thought. So we're going to take a little break and let our sponsors have their say. I hope you listen to them, because they have something to offer, each and every one of us. And we're grateful to them for sponsoring our show. Then we're going to come back, and I really want to get into this. What is our current relationship with the source of everything? So don't go away. We'll be right back.
Is your treasured dining room table in danger? Don't let scratches, spills, or hot plates ruin your beautiful dining table. Table pads are normally hundreds of dollars, but right now you get a custom table pad for only $69, an unheard of price. Our table pads are hand upholstered, just like the ones Grandma had.
Call now to order your custom table pads for only $69 and receive a $30 protective storage bag free. Call 800-631-9229.
This is a national healthcare alert from the Health Hotline. If you, a family member, or a loved one suffers from knee pain and have Medicare as your primary insurance, we've got great news. You could qualify for a pain-relieving knee brace at little or no cost to you. Get free delivery, and all the paperwork is handled by our accredited suppliers at no charge to you. We also have other pain-relieving braces available for shoulder, ankle, and your back. Call the number on your screen right now to immediately receive a pain-relieving brace at little or no cost.
Everybody wants cheap airfare, but where do you find it? You call Low Cost Airlines. They specialize in cheap flights, discount hotel rooms, cheap car rental rates, and with a best price guarantee. If you want the lowest prices on your airline tickets or other travel services, call now. That's right, call. That's the only way to get these rates. Experts are standing by 24/7 to get you the cheapest airfare and hotel rates available. So don't wait. Call now.
Friend, do you remember when it felt good to withdraw your cash from the bank to expand a business, go on vacation, or buy a new car? Well, today, withdrawing your own cash has become a very risky business. According to the secret war, banks are now required to spy on us for the government and then report any suspicious or unusual behavior. I suggest you get the secret war free. Call the number on your screen or visit online.
Well, welcome back. We're talking about relationships today, and we've gone all the way from inanimate objects like your computer to plants to animals and to people, and the different levels of interaction with the people in our lives, from neighbors to children to parents to friends to co-workers to significant others, all different levels of involvement and interest. And that's what makes the quality of a relationship, is our level of involvement and interest. So when we left off at the break, we started talking about having a relationship with our inner life, our non-local mind, which is our spiritual self, which is our unlimited self. It's the potential. And we enter into it in silence through the practice of meditation. And we become good at it so that we are able to sit there and notice we have fewer and fewer thoughts, but we begin to have realizations. You know, when you sit in silence, you've actually contacted the greater self, the rest of you, the best of you, the not yet expressed of you, and it begins to interact with you. You have realizations, you have insights, you might have big ahas. It's amazing, and sometimes they come after the meditation's over when you're just walking around doing your thing. So meditation, as I said, is the best kept secret on the planet, and one in which I wish every single child would learn when they're little and continue on for the rest of their life. We'd have a different world. So we also talked about having a relationship with the source of our life, which can also be felt in silence, and we can see it in nature, the diversity it produces, and the intelligence with which it produces. Just look at the universe. Everything is totally interactive. The universe is a relationship, and everything in it is in right relationship. Planets spinning around stars, and everything is in a movement. It's like a dance. Universe, one word, one song, right? Okay, it's a symphony. All right, so we had an image of our source as being a man in the sky, which was fine for another time millennia ago, but no longer is appropriate. It's not big enough for us. It was too parental. People had, and still do, have a relationship with spirit that is parent to child. It's not like that. You couldn't run the universe like that, where there's one power looking down and deciding who gets what and punishing those. That's ridiculous. That's child's thinking. There is a system, a beautiful system of idea to form, of the invisible to the visible, and it comes through that which it makes out of itself. So our relationship to spirit is more like a partnership. It's more co-creative than anything else. And it is extremely intimate. And the more we're involved in it, the more our life becomes effortless, as Deepak Chopra teaches. It can be somewhat effortless, where things just seem to appear when we need them. What was that Christian scripture? Before they call, I will answer. You have what you need before you know you need it. Okay. All right, so the question is, where is this power? Where is God? That's a good question in today's world. Well, the answer to that is activated within ourselves by our own non-local mind, that which can perceive without projecting a limited idea onto what we perceive. And it's the source. If you want to call it God, that's fine. Just don't think of it as a man in the sky. It's not. The source is immediate. It's right now. It's here now. We're immersed in it. The universe is saturated in it. And what do I mean by that? Saturated with intelligence and love. Those are the two things in right relationship with each other that produce the world, that produce the universe. Intelligence and love, masculine and feminine. They go together. They belong together. They create the third thing. And the third thing they created, remember, let us make them in our image and likeness. I'm doing a whole lot of Christian stuff today, and I'm not even a Christian. There's some good stuff in there. Let us make them in our image and likeness. Masculine and feminine, they go together. The third thing is the universe. With us, the third thing is the relationship. The third thing, anytime we're interacting with Source, we produce a third thing. It could be a new idea for a great invention. It could be a new job. It could be a new friend. It could be healing of the body. That's the third thing. But it happens because we're interacting with our Source. We're interacting, having a relationship with God. Not a parent-child one, a co-creative one. And that's what New Thought teaches. Man, you can prove this for yourself too, and it's pretty exciting when it happens. So here's the question. Let's assume you've accepted that. Maybe it's a new idea, but you have to think about it. But just for the moment, if Spirit, God, intelligence, and love, the one life that makes everything out of itself, which is being you, if you're in a co-creative relationship with it, and it's waiting for you to give it some instruction, have you given it anything new to do lately? You see, the thing is, our life is one of repetition if we don't infuse new ideas into this field of consciousness. It all begins in here, this realm, not the brain, but the mind, which is a realm, it's a field. And that's where ideas come from, and that's where our ideas go. You know, in Hawaii, I lived in Hawaii for years. Their spirituality is very similar, and they call spirit the Amakua. And when they have a desire they want fulfilled, they breathe the desire in, they give it to the Amakua, and then they exhale it out through themselves. And they know they will see it in their world, in time, space. It's very similar. We take the idea in, we put it into the realm of consciousness, which makes everything out of itself by becoming the thing it makes, and it infuses its version of that idea through us. And that might mean we have an inspiration. We know what to do. We know who to call. We know where to be. It's just suddenly we're involved in the relationship with Spirit and our idea. It's a beautiful thing. And the more conscious we are of it, the more we can use it effectively. So what have you given God to do lately? You know, most people don't give it anything to do except repeat and repeat and repeat. And that's because they don't have any new thoughts. They don't have any new ideas. And you know, it's kind of sad. I have a lot of compassion for us because we think, well, maybe I'm not worth it. Maybe I don't deserve it. But that's because we're attaching our self-identity more to our ego than to our spirit. And that's a big mistake. You got to get that thing in balance. You have to master the ego. You have to be the master of it. When you hear yourself thinking, oh, poor me stuff, just say, thank you for sharing. That'll be enough out of you. Really, I do it to myself all the time. It's a practice. You learn to think as if you were God itself speaking. I am love. I am joy. I am intelligence. I am prosperity in action. I am love in action. I am peace in action. This is God speaking as me. I have everything I need to fully live a life of joy and love and peace and prosperity. The ego doesn't say that. The ego says, I wish I had something different. The ego says, poor me, I had such a bad childhood, I'll never get over it. You know, we're telling ourselves lies. Anything that has a limitation attached to it is a false belief. I prefer the word lie. We're lying to ourselves. But not because we're stupid, because maybe we've never heard another possibility. Maybe we've been so immersed in old-time religion and then we threw it out because we got too smart. We said, that can't be true. There's no man in the sky. But we didn't replace it with anything. Well, there is a source to everything, and it can be understood, and we can have a relationship with it. It's learning to sit in silence where there's no form, no time, no space, and feeling its presence because it is formless. And it takes form as us. But when it takes form as us, it remains universal and it remains formless. You know, this is really interesting. So we have a universal aspect to our consciousness and a local one. We can think locally. Where are my car keys? I'm going to write a talk. I'm going to do Sunday service. Or we can think non-locally. You know, what if I wrote a bestseller? That's non-local thinking because it's not based on anything. It's just a what-if question. Or what if I created peace on earth? I mean, it's like people, the ego says, who, you? The fact is, we're all doing it every moment with our relationships and how we interact with people. We're either promoting peace or we're starting wars. I know a lot of you started wars. So have I. But we've also promoted peace. If you'd like to talk to me personally, I want you can email me, ccarnes, 7, the number, @gmail.com. I will answer you. And I also do private spiritual counseling to help people get back on track. I'd love to talk to you. And you can also, if you've missed any of these shows and you want to hear more, because I speak on different subjects, get on YouTube. And under the Las Cruces channel or my name or Living Consciously, you're bound to find me. And you can get on my website, carolcarnes.com, or the center's website, which is on your screen right now, mvcsl.org, Mesilla Valley Center for Spiritual Living. We also have a Sunday morning service. I'd love to have you come. It's very different, and it's very intelligent, and it's really for smart people. I'd love to see you there. It's at the community center in the town of Mesilla, and it's at 10:30 every Sunday morning. So thank you for being with us today. Tune in again. In the meantime, stay tuned in and live consciously. Bye for now.